Hello, all, and welcome to Astro Wheel of Fortune. My name is Vlada, and I read tarot. And today I'm doing a reading on what have been people noticing about you lately. What changes have people been noticing about you lately? Maybe what's different, but also maybe what has stayed the same. I'm keeping this quite broad, and I will be live shuffling on camera as I do this reading. So I will have 4 groups for this reading: group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4. You can pause the video if you like to take a break to really focus on the groups and see which one is pulling you. Maybe it's 2 groups, maybe it's 3 groups, maybe it's all of them that are pulling you and you feel like there's a message in all of them for you. But it could also be that none of the groups are pulling your attention, which is also completely fine. And if that's the case, I would recommend just leaving this video, and it could just mean that no messages here are really for you. But if you are pulled to one of the groups, I'll see you on the other side. I just wanted to say that if you are interested in more readings by me, I do have a Patreon. So if you want to check out my Patreon, the link is down in the description box below. I do extra readings on there. I do readings that are video like this, but I also do text posts, and I also include little extra bits and perks in my Patreon as well from time to time. They can be different. Sometimes I offer mini readings, personal mini readings to my patrons. Sometimes I give discount codes for my shop. I also have private readings available in my Etsy shop. The link is down below as well. So yeah, if you're interested in some perks, or if you're interested in more readings by me, check out my Patreon. But yeah, let's get started. I'm gonna leave it here, and we're moving on to group number 1. So let's get into it. Group number 1. Let's see, what have people been noticing about you lately? What have people been recognizing in you lately that is different, or just in general, what have people been realizing about you? Let's get into it. Group 1. 3 of Pentacles in reverse. Well, first thing that I'm getting is, for a lot of you, this could be your coworkers that want to come through for some reason, or people that you collaborate with, colleagues, potentially, maybe potential collaborators. For a lot of you who picked this group, maybe you have withdrawn from certain colleagues. You could have withdrawn from certain collaborators, and that hasn't gone unnoticed. That's something that has been acknowledged and noticed by these people. That's something that I'm picking up on. Some of you could have pulled away from your coworkers due to personal reasons. It doesn't have to be that it's something to do with the specific group of people that is involved here. And it's definitely your absence. If you've been absent from work as well, it's been very noticed. I feel like you're being missed by these collaborators, by these colleagues, by these people at work. Have noticed your absence. There's that kind of feeling that I'm picking up on. People that you work with, people that you collaborate with, maybe even clients for some of you. Maybe you've been reducing your hours in terms of like taking on clients. Maybe you haven't been taking on as many clients as before. That is definitely something that has been noticed. It feels like you are not willing to overwork yourself. That's the general consensus. So even if it's not just the collaborators or the coworkers that have been noticing something about you, people in your life have just noticed that you're not willing to overwork yourself anymore, that you are interested in pulling your energy back from maybe the 9 to 5 for some of you, or whatever type of work that you do. We've also got the 8 of Wands. So the 8 of Wands kind of lets me know that you, some people feel like you are onto better and bolder things. It feels like, especially if you have been pulling away from work, and like, you know, colleague environment, maybe people are thinking you're working on something very exciting outside of the workplace. People feel like you are moving on to better things. Maybe some people are thinking that you're maybe planning on moving on location wise as well, like you're planning on moving, literally moving. a lot of people have noticed that you want to be a lot more free now. You're wanting to be more free, and you want to have more space for adventure. There's that kind of sense, especially people in work. So interesting. I feel like maybe some people in work have noticed that you are wanting more freedom when it comes to your job, when it comes to your career. Um, that maybe you're wanting more freedom, more autonomy, more space to explore. There's a little sense of wildness. Like it's not too huge, it's not too intense, but there's a sense of wildness to you lately, from other people's perspectives. Again, especially for some reason, this keeps coming up for you, Group One. Maybe you used to be someone who was always in the office, or you were someone who was always constantly in contact with colleagues, collaborators. You were always very involved in your job, and lately it feels like you are moving on to other things and you're not as present in that environment. And so there's a sense of wildness, maybe even not too much, but like a sense of rebellion in some sort of way. Like you're rebelling against maybe working too much, working too hard. We've got the Three of Wands. Yeah, a lot of people feel like you have finally realized your full potential. That's what that's something that I heard. That Group One has finally figured out their full potential. So I wonder if some people, like old coworkers, especially if you left a job, if this resonates, if you left a job, some people maybe realize like, oh, Group One has finally realized their full potential. They realize that they're bigger. Their potential is bigger than just being in this job and maybe being constricted by this job's you know constraints, constricted by constraints. How very original. But wow, a lot of wand energy. It does feel like a lot of people feel like you're rebelling against the kind of like the old. You're rebelling against the way that you've been told how to do things, but you're rebelling in a way that is not overly destructive and is not overly upsetting to other people. But nonetheless, it's not because you're not afraid. It's not because you're afraid of hurting people's feelings. It's not because you're afraid that people will be hurt by your rebellion. It's because you know how to move without hurting people, but still being very authentic in yourself. I also feel like some people have realized that you have a lot more fight in you than maybe they have previously realized. So maybe you're someone who's generally a little bit more quiet or a little bit more reserved, but even if you're not, you maybe have seemed to people like someone who wasn't going to put up a fight, I'm hearing. And a lot of people have realized recently that you are someone who does not mind putting up a fight, does not mind having opposition, but you're just so subtle about it at the same time. So it's very, there's a very interesting kind of feeling that I'm getting here. Some people, I feel like a lot of people feel like you want to get away from them as well, like you want to run away from them. Maybe certain people have realized that you don't feel free around them. You don't feel like you can fully express yourself around them. Yeah, a lot of people feel like you're breaking out of something, like you're really taking your own autonomy and your own progress into your own hands. And you're fighting for a better tomorrow, is what I'm hearing. Wow. I will not put up with this anymore is coming through. So maybe you said that to someone and that made them realize something. And we've got the Seven of Cups as well. So the Seven of Cups makes me feel like you are realizing that what a lot of people are realizing about you is that you're realizing that you have other options out there. Maybe you used to be in a situation or in a place where you felt like it was your only option and you didn't really have any other options. You didn't have any other ways of progressing. And it's almost like you suddenly realized that you had way more options available to you than what you did what you believed previously. It's kind of like someone who thinks, again, let's use the example of work, because the work thing and colleagues was coming up so much. It's kind of like someone who thought that they were only cut out for one type of job. Someone who thought, like, no, this is my job and I'm going to stick to it now, and I don't really have any other options because I'm not really good at anything else. Let me just stay at this job that I'm doing because I know I'm good at it, and, you know, pays okay or whatever. Like, I'm pretty content. Like, I feel like it's not necessarily that you're breaking out of a place that was awful. It's not necessarily that you're breaking out of a place that was terrible. It's more that you're breaking out of a place that was kind of beneath you. But I'm not saying that in an insulting way to whoever is staying in that job, because it's like, you know, whoever is staying, there's skills for them to learn in that job or in that space or in that situation, whatever we want to call it. But the reason you're breaking out of the situation, because the reason you're breaking out of a certain system or a job or a workplace or something like that, you're breaking out of there because there's nothing more for you to learn. And now you have way more options outside of that system, outside of that job, that are available to you, that you can absorb so much more information from. Because I'm getting a thirst for knowledge and a thirst for more information. There's something about you that people have realized, that there's nothing else for you to learn where you are currently or where you have just broken out of, and you must go and learn in other spaces, in other places. I feel like some people, it feels very 50-50. There's some people that completely understand this. It feels like there's some people that are like, that makes complete sense. You know, that group one are moving on. Of course, they have realized their full potential. They know that they deserve to learn more, to experience more, to explore more. But there's also some people that almost, it feels like maybe is it 50-50? I don't know. With the Five of Wands, I am getting a feeling that there could be some people that are almost begrudging that, but it's not because they think that you don't deserve it. It's almost like they're, maybe, especially if this is a job situation, the example that I'm getting is that if you broke out of a job and you are going on to like better opportunities and you're exploring better opportunities, there are people that are a little bit begrudging of it, but not because they don't think you deserve it, because they are resentful that they also feel the same way that you do. So they feel like, I've learned everything at this job, I've learned every skill possible, but they're not brave enough, or they don't have enough belief in themselves in order to progress the way that you have. And I feel like that might come up for you. You might notice that with certain people, and I feel like your guides are just saying, make sure that you are not internalizing that, because in reality, it's almost like an admiration thing. You know, they know exactly how you feel. They know exactly how you felt. This feeling of like, this is not terrible, this is not awful, but I'm kind of fed up with it. I'm kind of tired of it. I'm tired of doing this same job or the same round of tasks. They know that feeling. So I feel like your guides are just saying, don't be worrying about it. You're releasing baggage. You are being brave in releasing baggage, in releasing things that you no longer need. It's like this job or whatever the situation is that you're leaving, it's like it was good for a while and it wasn't necessarily bad. This environment that I was in for a while, it wasn't necessarily bad, it wasn't awful, but it had become stagnant over time, and it's because I wasn't learning anything new. I wasn't getting any more new experiences. Look at that, we've got the Seven of Cups but in reverse, and it's kind of like you are just thirsty for new experiences, hungry for new experiences, but I'm getting thirst. It's like, I've been thirsty. Yeah. A lot of you could be moving countries as well, or like moving location wise, geographically, you could be moving. It could even be for some of you, I don't know if this will resonate you, but maybe like small town mentality. Maybe you're dealing with small town mentality and you'll be dealing, maybe you haven't moved quite yet, or if you have moved, maybe certain people that you used to be friends with, it's almost like um, they might feel a little bit resentful, but not all, because I'm getting there's a lot of people that completely get your thought process. Like I am getting for most people, I would almost say, I know I said 50-50, but I feel like most people, even those that have a little bit of resentment, completely get your thought process, completely get where you're coming from, completely get why you're doing what you're doing, even if they don't want to admit that they know why you're doing what you're doing. Some people have also realized that you have broken out of certain codependencies. So maybe you are someone who has broken away from a codependency from a certain friend or a partner. And that's something that I feel a lot of people are admiring about you, in fact. Um, and I feel like a lot of people have realized that you had a lot of difficult choices to make in order to break out of this situation as well. There's this feeling of like this wasn't an easy decision for group one to make. I honestly get a lot of admiration in this group, but there is a sense that maybe there's one or two people or a couple of people that have this feeling of like, I know how group one feels, but somehow I'm still annoyed that they're leaving, or that they're getting to break out and I'm not getting to break out. There's that kind of feeling that I'm getting. So these people could have Virgo placements, or this one of the people could have Virgo placements that are quite prominent. But this also just lets me know that it feels like people are kind of analyzing you right now, but I don't want that to make you feel insecure or like worried, because I feel like people are also analyzing you from a good point of view or a good place, because what it feels like, there's people that are analyzing like, how did this person make this choice, make this decision? How were they brave enough to break out of something that was stagnant and stale and no longer had anything to give them? Um, People are almost like, there's almost a sense of, how can I research group one to understand? I feel like a lot of people would almost want to get your advice on how to do the same. You might even get people reaching out for advice. Yeah, it's like you either went or you're currently going through a very difficult transition that is requiring a lot of your energy, that is requiring a lot of your courage. I feel like courage is a very strong energy here. I'm feeling a lot of bravery that's coming through. And I feel like that's what most people have realized about you, that you are a very courageous and brave person, that you are no coward. There's that kind of, like, group one is no coward. Let me tell you that. Whether the people admire you or whether there's people that have something against you, the consensus is that you're no coward. Even if I feel like even people that don't like you, or people that don't have the most pleasant feelings towards you, can't resist or can't deny that you are no coward, that you are a very brave human being. And there's something to be said for that. Virgo again, integrity. Also, that's a strong feeling that I'm getting. Integrity is a strong energy that I'm picking up on. Integrity. You're someone with a lot of integrity, and you're not going to do things that are not coming from a place of utmost integrity. And that, again, there's like, I feel like a lot of you, group one, even people that don't like you, can't help but respect you on some level or another. There's that kind of feeling that I'm picking up on. And we've got Scorpio. Intensity, exposing, purging, and renewing. You're purging. I mean, you're going through a purging period. That's what it feels like. And then you're moving into a renewing kind of energy. People have realized that you will purge no matter how attached or how codependent you are on something. When you truly come to a point of enough is enough, or when you come to a point of that's it, this needs to move, like I need to move on now. you will purge whatever it is, but you're gonna do it in a way that is very brave, very courageous. And I feel like there's something about you being very considerate at the same time. So maybe if you were leaving something, if you left some sort of job, or if you left a person, if you left a place, or you're going through that process, there's this sense of like they're doing it in the most morally sane or morally sound, integral, most considerate way possible. You know, even if it's hard, even if it's difficult, this person, group one, they're doing it in a way that is fair, I guess, but also the way that they feel their morals are not getting betrayed. So it's like you're making very hard decisions. A lot of people have realized. I also feel like in general, there could be a sense that a lot of people have realized about you that you've made a lot of hard decisions in your life, that you've made a lot of very difficult choices in your life that maybe you didn't want to make and you would have rather not have had to make, but you've made a lot of difficult decisions in your life that were not easy to make. It's not like you enjoyed making these decisions, but you made them because of your own moral stand still, or your own, like, where you stood morally and your own integrity. You did it because of your own, like, code of conduct almost. There's something very noble about you, group one, the way that people have maybe a lot of people have realized that you're actually a very noble person. There is a sense that potentially people from the past, like, even if we look at it more like long term, it feels like if you're looking at your whole life and like people that maybe you had to leave behind, jobs you had to leave behind, a lot of people that maybe would have judged you for leaving in the past, or would have said like, you know, oh, they're an asshole or a dick for leaving or whatever. Now presently where we are, they're realizing that your reasons for leaving weren't to hurt people, not to corrupt the situation, but in fact you were doing it for the betterment. You were doing it because you were trying to create a sense of health, I suppose. Even like you were trying to create a healthy situation out of a situation that was maybe toxic, and by removing yourself, you were seeing that as almost like the first step to you know, removing something bad. And every choice that you made in terms of removal is it's like removing yourself from a place. Like, I will no longer support this space, I will no longer support this company, I will no longer support this friendship group, I will no longer support this relationship, this community. Removing yourself and showing that as a, you know, even if you were judged, at the time, knowing that you were doing it for your own morals, for your own integrity, and your own code of conduct wouldn't allow you to continue on within this group. And I feel like maybe that was almost like a domino knock-on effect for other people to eventually leave. And again, it doesn't mean that the community is bad or like toxic per se. There could have been some instances like that. But it's no better if a community or a job is becoming too repetitive, and it's not necessarily toxic, like people are nasty or mean, but maybe it's an environment where people are wilting away in their creativity and within their inspiration, etc. So, but yeah, I feel like people have realized that, are realizing or noticing that you are actually a very noble person with a very strong moral code, with a lot of integrity and strong code of conduct, and you don't betray yourself. But when you, in your process of not betraying yourself, you are very careful to make sure you betray others as little as possible as well. So sometimes people might feel like they get betrayed by you because you are moving on and you're like, I need to move on because my code of conduct will not allow me to stay here. But in reality, you're not betraying them, you're just refusing to betray yourself. And I feel like some people from your past have really kind of come to that realization, group one. So wow, very interesting reading. Definitely let me know if you have some feedback, if you have something to say on that, if you feel like it. Also like and subscribe if you like this video. But I'm going to move on. So I'm moving on to group number 2, so let's get into it. Let's look at what have people realized about you lately? What are people realizing about you as we speak? What are people noticing about you? Let's get into it. Group 2. Wow. Okay. King of Wands and the Ace of Swords. People are noticing that you're becoming a lot more direct with your words, to the point where maybe you don't worry too much about hurting people's feelings. But it's not coming from a place of bad intention, I suppose. I feel like some people have felt like you have been very direct with them lately. People maybe in your inner circle. You're coming off as someone who's taking the lead. You're coming off as someone who is in control, but also you're not trying to be controlling. The Ace of Swords here in reverse, because it's near, if it was by itself, I would usually kind of look at it as like, you know, confusion and lack of communication, but I'm not getting that with the King of Wands being here. It feels like the communication is actually very sharp and very to the point, but it's almost like maybe someone got their feelings hurt by you or communicating with you, but I feel like they know that like you didn't mean to hurt their feelings. There's something like you hurt someone's feelings with your words and how direct you were, but the person in question, or maybe people in question, are aware that you did not mean to hurt them with your words. It's like you're a very direct communicator, but sometimes your directness can be almost like, oh, that really hit me in my heart. Like, you know, that kind of feeling that I'm getting. I think people are realizing that you just don't really have time to not say what you mean. There's this feeling of like group 2 will just express exactly what they mean, and sometimes it's not going to be something that people want to hear. People have realized you have a real strong ability for leadership. You have a really strong ability for taking care not only of yourself but of other people as well. People around you are realizing that maybe they weren't giving you enough credit in terms of how much of a leader you are. I feel like maybe you even pulled back some of your leadership skills from certain people, because maybe your leadership skills were helping certain people advance their own life as well. And since you've pulled back that energy, these people are realizing like, oh, I actually wasn't just, you know, what group 2 was helping me with and how group 2 was helping me was actually very significant, and they had a really big impact on my life. I did not realize that. Wow, the Tower. People are realizing that you are, the feeling that I'm getting is like when you step out or you take your energy out of someone's life, it can bring this sense of destruction almost. And it's almost like when you're not there, not that their life goes to shit, because I'm not getting that specifically, but like for some people chaos ensues, and some people are realizing that your presence as a variable in their life assures that their chaos is quite controlled, whereas when you step out, it's very hard for them not to be chaotic. So we've got the Star card in reverse, and we also had the Two of Wands in reverse. People are realizing that you are pulling your energy back so that you can heal yourself, so that you can focus on yourself, maybe so that you can focus on your mental health as well. That's something that's coming through here. I'm also getting some people are realizing that they lost a chance with you. Like they lost their chance to create a certain partnership or a certain connection with you. there there's something like that. It feels like you pulled back your energy. Maybe you were giving people a chance to create, I keep hearing create an alliance or create a collaboration or create something together. For a lot of you, this could be a business thing because the King of Wands is a very entrepreneurial energy. I wonder if someone realized they've lost out on a part, or like a business partnership or a business opportunity with you, even. That will be obviously not for all of you, but that's coming through. That you're pulling back. You're not going to be as available anymore. Yeah, it's like someone missed their chance. There's a strong feeling for you, group two. I'm getting less of a general energy. I feel like there's more like specific people. Um, it feels like certain people are realizing that they missed their chance with you. And for a lot of you, it does feel like there could be some sort of like business opportunity feeling involved. You may not even feel that way though. That's what I'm getting. I feel like you're chilling. You're just like, I'm just chilling. I feel a lot of people are also realizing that you're going through a big change in your life, and the way that you're going through this change is it's almost like a lot of people are realizing that your life can be very dramatic and very dramatic things can happen in your life, but you almost just keep it together in this very like relaxed hangman kind of way. I keep hearing I don't know if I should get involved. So there are certain people that may I wonder if certain people feel like they need to get involved in in something that's happening in your life. Like maybe you're going through a really big transformation, like something is really crumbling, something is really breaking down in your life, and there are certain people that are almost like, should I like reach out? Should I reach out to group number two? Should I say something? Because there's something that I'm feeling here is like a sense of guilt. Some people have realized that they feel guilty for maybe some difficulties that you are going through right now. Um, but at the same time, I'm feeling this like unsureness. Certain people have definitely realized that you have it. The feeling that I'm getting is that there have been certain people in your life that maybe thought that you were like really invested in them. It's a very interesting feeling that I'm getting. It's like someone who's convinced that another person is invested in them and is like obsessed with them, and just like, and then it turns out that the person that they thought was obsessed with them is like not obsessed with them at all, never had an interest in them, never felt any sort of like obsessive feelings towards them. And in reality, the person who thought the other person was obsessed with them was the one obsessed with the other person the whole time. Like that's the feeling that I'm getting. So someone is maybe realizing that they thought that you were obsessed with them, but in reality, the whole time you were never obsessed with them. It was them who was obsessed with you the whole time, and their obsession with you convinced them that you were obsessed with them. What a convoluted story here. But I'm really picking up on that. I'm picking up on this kind of like almost someone who is a little bit delusional. Someone who's like, oh my god, this person is so obsessed with me. And you're like, no, I like not even know, because I feel like it's something you're maybe not even fully aware of. But I feel like someone here is realizing that this is actually not the case. You know, like you're not obsessed with them. 10 of Cups in reverse. The Hierophant in reverse. Someone is realizing that I feel like there is a strong feeling that I'm getting that maybe someone here was not giving commitment. whether it's friendship, platonic, romantic, whether it's a business partnership, like someone thought that they could like string you along. There's that kind of feeling, and they're suddenly realizing that that is not the case. They can't string you along. They can't kind of keep you on a lead. Like the feeling that I'm getting is that it's like someone thought they could keep you on a leash, on a lead, like they could keep you on a line. It's like, oh yeah, this person's always going to be there, and they're obsessed with me, and they're going to be, always chasing me. And I don't think you were even chasing this person. I think you were more so waiting. Like you were more in waiting energy. And maybe this is who you hurt. Like maybe you hurt their feelings. This is the person that you hurt the feelings of, because all of a sudden this illusion came crashing down, and it became obvious that you were never chasing per se. You were actually always in this very leader-like King of Wands energy, and now you are gonna like deconstruct everything, break everything down, destroy whatever needs to be destroyed in order to walk away from this person or from whatever this situation is. And that is kind of like bringing whoever is involved in this situation in for a loop. It's kind of making people go, oh shit, like that's the way things are going, not the way that we anticipated them to go, or I anticipated them to go. For a lot of you, this is just going to be one person. I'm not going to lie. I feel like this is more, and I'm sorry, because obviously the question is, what have people realized? But it feels like one specific person is really coming through strong. Yeah, I feel like the thing that people, if we're looking at the general side of things, if there were people observing this situation, people are realizing that you are really invested in your long-term happiness. You're really invested in your long-term stability, and that in the long run, you are taken care of. And you don't mind destroying whatever is in front of you right now, if that means that you'll have a better chance at grasping, whatever is best for you in the long run. So maybe there were certain people that thought that you would just settle for something. There's a feeling of that, like settling. Like maybe people expected you to settle, expected you to just say, no, this is fine. Like I'll just settle for this half-assed, effort from this person or these people. And maybe it was that person or these people themselves that felt that way. And I feel like you completely destroyed that illusion. You completely destroyed that notion. Yeah. You're like, I'm bored. The feeling that I'm getting is that these people are realizing that they bored you to death with their lack of reciprocity potentially, or their lack of effort towards you. And now they feel confused, and now they feel restricted. It feels like the tables have turned. The feeling is very interesting. It's like the tables have turned. It's like maybe you were waiting for a certain for effort. Maybe you were waiting for someone to come through, to really pull through in some sort of way. Maybe you're a very patient person in many ways, but you're not. It's interesting because you're like a patient person, but then when your patience runs out, you can be very destructive, I think. Kind of reminds me of like Scorpionic energy. It's like, I think Scorpios can be very patient, but they're not patient forever. So the feeling is very like, I've been patient, I have waited, and maybe you've said some, tough truth to these people or this person. But it's almost the feeling that I'm getting, like it's you having a conversation with a person or a group of people and being like, I've waited, I've been patient, but I'm kind of bored now, to be honest. I'm bored of waiting for you to do something, and I just don't think that you're that important or you're that big of a deal that I can't just walk away from this whole situation and build a better future for myself without you. And I feel like maybe it could have been something very similar that you could have said, because the feeling is very like, they could have been taken aback by that and been like, what? You can't say that to me. Like, that's the feeling that I'm getting. But people are realizing that you can be very cutthroat in terms of words and how you express yourself if you want to be. But it's very kind of like last resort energy. It's my last resort that I would say something that would be... But it's kind of like harsh but true. So We've got this. You've hurt someone's ego here for sure. I feel like maybe you've been very complimentary or very, I'm getting a sense of someone who's very patient and someone who's like, you're a great person. Like, let me tell you why you're so great. Let me tell you why you're an amazing friend, even though this person's not treating you well, or maybe even though these people are not giving you what you're supposed to be getting or what you think you should be getting. And you're constantly kind of like being there for, whether it's a job, whether it's a community, whether it's a group of friends, one friend, a partner. It's this feeling of just being there for someone no matter what, constantly being consistent with them and reassuring them and saying, I understand your struggles, I understand your, circumstance. But, I need something too. I need you to give back to me. And then at a point, there's like a breaking point and you just go, you know what? I'm bored now. I've supported you. I've been there for you. I've been very, very patient, but I'm interested in moving forward and exploring my own happiness. And I think something as well that's coming through is that people have realized that you are not going to betray your inner child, even if they're not really thinking about the concept of inner child. There's a sense that you are not going to betray. I'm almost getting this feeling of like, I promised something to my like little person that's in me, my inner child. I've promised certain things to this child and I am not going to betray the promises that I have made for this child. Oh my god, I'm almost getting like very choked up about it. So I feel like for some of you this is emotionally actually very important. Yeah, Black Moon Lilith, it's a very interesting placement and it can be a placement of shadow work. Maybe a lot of people have realized that all you needed to do was to do some shadow work in order to emerge and make this move. And also there's a sense of destruction with Black Moon Lilith as well. So to me, there's a very strong feeling of destruction around this reading. So I feel a lot of people have realized about you and are noticing about you is that you are a destroyer in many ways. And you are someone who's not afraid to destroy something that no matter how much it meant to you, if you notice that this thing, this relationship, this community, these people that you were involved with, and I don't mean destroy like you're walking away from the group of, like, let's say if you were walking from a group of friends, you're destroying the friendship group. No, you're just destroying that for yourself. Like, that's the energy that I'm getting. So, but you don't mind destroying and crumbling the old foundations of your life if you're noticing that these foundations are not bringing you where you are seeking to go. If you are noticing that the people around you are not fulfilling your inner child's dreams, your inner child's wants, needs. And again, I don't feel like, for some of you, I do feel like there are people to kind of blame here, because I do feel like there are certain people that maybe made promises to you that they did not hold up. Or maybe it wasn't necessarily promised, but there was always this like, I need you, please come back. Like, oh, someday I'll figure it out and someday I'll be able to give you what you want. But it's always someday. It's never, like, I need it now. So there's this sense of like, I need it now. For a lot of you, Leo season could be important. It could be that Leo season is very prosperous for you, and it could also be that during Leo season things are really going to make sense. Because I feel like for this group there is a sense of destruction that's happening right now. But the main thing that I'm getting is that a lot of people have realized that you always had the power to hurt their ego, or to... It's like you always had the power to hurt their ego, but you were always restraining yourself, or you were not even restraining yourself. You never wanted to do that. That was never your, objective. That was never your goal to hurt their egos. And maybe now that you have hurt their egos, they're like, oh, this is what it feels like to get my ego hurt by this person. We've also got Virgo and Scorpio. We actually got these two in the last group as well. I mean, the destruction part is very true with Scorpio. And I was saying I was feeling the scorpionic energy of someone who's very patient, very consistent, but they're not going to be patient and consistent forever. At some point, they are going to destroy the old foundation and just move on if the old foundation is not giving them the same kind of consistency and patience. So I think a lot of people also have realized that you're a very patient person, but that your patience is very, don't test your patience. That's that's the feeling that I'm getting. It's like, don't test group two's patience. They're patient, but they're not someone who's patient unconditionally, if that makes sense. And a lot of people have realized that you are someone who holds a lot of this like very destructive energy, but I don't want you to look at it from a negative point of view. I want you to look at it from the point of view of like, you hold a lot of power, that you can love something for so long and care about something for so long and chase something for so long, but when you're done, you're truly done, and you will destroy any remnants of like or ability to come back to it. You know, there's that sense of like, I'm never coming back to this. So I also think a lot of people have realized that you do things with permanence. So a lot of the time when you make a decision, there's a permanence to it. You're not gonna go, oh, maybe I'll come back to it now. Like a lot of things that you do are final. And I think maybe some people, there's a sense of like people kind of going like, oh no, they're never gonna do that. Nah, they're never gonna do that. They're never gonna do this. And then you do it, and it's like, oh shit, they did do it. I thought they were never gonna do it, but they did do it. It's like this feeling of like, maybe you were saying to someone, hey, I'm gonna leave this job if you don't raise my salary. I'm gonna leave. And the job is like, they're not gonna leave. And then you do. And it's shit, you know. Or, you know, whether it's with a person, you're saying at some point I'm going to leave, at some point I'm going to have to move on, at some point I'm not going to be available to you anymore. And, you know, that person or people are like, they're not going to leave. They're not going. They're just bluffing, you know, or whatever. There is a realization from like in a general way that you don't bluff. You're serious when you say something maybe consistently, and it takes you a long time to walk away from something, but when you walk away from something, it's forever. So that's what I have for you, group number 2. I hope you enjoyed this reading. If you like this reading, do like, subscribe, and comment, especially with your feedback. This one was interesting as well. Very cool messages coming through so far. So yeah, I'm gonna move on. So we're moving on to group number 3 with Black Tourmaline. So let's see, group 3, what is coming up in terms of what are people realizing about you? What have people realized about you? What are people noticing about you? Let's see what the cards have to say. Okay, so we've got 3 cards to begin. So we've got Page of Cups, 9 of Wands, and the Queen of Swords in reverse. People are noticing that you are excited about something, but also scared. There's a sense of like you being very excited about a new beginning, a new start, a new opportunity maybe even, but also being kind of fearful and maybe even overthinking it a little bit. That's something that people maybe around you are noticing, people closer to you in your inner circle. People are realizing that you have, there's something about you having good intentions, but also having trust issues. There's a feeling like you're someone who has really good intentions and wants people to be happy and wants to bring light and enjoyment into the world, but at the same time you're someone who is, it's like you're very open and closed off at the same time. And I feel like maybe people's first impression of you is that you're very innocent and you're very pure and there's something very open and vulnerable about you. But as people start to get to know you, they realize that this first impression is actually not that accurate. And while you are still quite pure and there's a lot of good intentions, you're actually someone who will not let people in that easily. And to get to know you truly, a person might have to go through some trials, through some tests. I feel like a lot of people underestimate you or have underestimated you in terms of your like, a lot of people see you as very innocent and very kind of harmless is the word that's coming to mind. But it's not that you're harmful, but you're definitely not someone who can just be easily tricked. If there's some, I wonder if there's some people who thought that they could trick you or that they could, you know, wrap you around their finger, and then it turned out that it's actually way harder to get through and to get to know you. But I'm almost also getting it not in a very like, because that's a very negative way of looking at it. I'm also seeing like a more positive situation where someone maybe was really excited to get to know you, and they were really excited to have this like vulnerable relationship with you. But now that they know you for a little bit longer, they're realizing that it's not so easy and it requires a lot more work. I feel like a lot of people in your life, whether they're close to you or not, are realizing that it's going to take more work to get to know you and to get you to open up to them. That's the feeling that I'm getting. Yeah. Five of Pentacles in reverse makes me think of like, you need to feel very safe and secure before you open up to someone fully. People are realizing that you are actually a lot more mysterious than what they first gave you credit for. There's a feeling of, it's so funny because, you know, sometimes you might think someone is really mysterious at first glance, but then you realize as you get to know them, they're actually like very laid back and very down to earth and they'll tell you anything. You're the opposite of that. You give the impression of someone who is going to be super open, who's going to tell everyone all your secrets, that you're going to be someone who's like very easy to read. I feel like that's almost your first impression on people, the way that people view you to begin with. But in reality, you're someone who is so hard to crack. You're someone who's so hard to get through to. The feeling that I'm getting is like someone who is maybe like maybe you're like a water or a fire sun, but you have an air or a earth moon, because I feel like air and earth moons are harder to read. But of course there's other placements, like in terms of astrology there's so much that we could look at for those kind of dynamics, but that's the first thing that popped into my head. It's like someone who could be a water or fire sun, especially a fire sun, and having like a earth or air moon. For some reason I'm getting like you could be an Aquarius moon. Aquarius moons, just like the placement of Aquarius moon, I find they're so friendly. There's like a really strong friendly energy to Aquarius moons, and they seem so very open. But when you're actually starting to develop a relationship, any sort of platonic or romantic relationship with an Aquarius moon, you tend to realize that they're holding a lot back. They're holding a lot back and they're actually not telling you half the story. And not in a sinister kind of way, like they're just not expressing it. A lot of people are realizing that they don't know you at all. That's the way that I would put this reading. It's like a lot of people are realizing that they could be in a relationship with you for years, they could have been in a friendship with you for years, and yet it's like they don't know you at all. They don't know you to that depth. They don't know you to that very deep level. I wonder if something has come out, or maybe you've revealed something lately or recently that, you know, warrants this kind of feeling. Temperance. The Six of Wands. Yeah, there's something about your energy. It's like someone who appears to be very outgoing and very extroverted and very excitable at first glance, and people might even put you into a box around that, but in reality you're actually someone who's deeply private. And it's like you fool people, and I feel like it kind of messes with people's heads a little bit, because I even feel like some people think you overshare, but it's like, wait, this person like overshared with me on a massive level when we first met, and I still don't understand like who they are, or what they're about and what they actually want and what they're thinking. Like, it's really hard. A lot of people have figured out that it's really hard to figure you out. It's like a paradox. They figured out nothing. They figured out nothing. Death and rebirth in reverse. It's just, I keep hearing you're a hard nut to crack. I feel like some people have also realized that you, something that I'm feeling, do you make a lot of people feel like you're actually, like, it feels like a lot of people think that you are their very close friend, and but you don't seem to feel that connection to them, or you don't think of them in that kind of very close scenario. And it's not from a place of like, oh, I don't care about you. It's from a place of, I don't feel like we have an in-depth enough connection for me to be a good friend of yours, or something like that. That's the feeling that I'm getting with this group. And so a lot of people might consider you their friend, because they feel like, oh, we know each other well. We're really good buds. Like, we know so much about each other. But in reality, your level, or the layer to which you need to know someone in order to be their friend, is way more in depth. I think a lot of people are realizing that you're a much deeper person than what they gave you credit for as well. That's a big feeling that I'm getting. It's like some people are realizing they underestimated or undermined the depth of your personality, the depth of your being. I feel like maybe some people even put you down as shallow, or that you're, yeah, like you're shallow, and that you're not that concerned, not even concerned, but you're not, you don't look into things that in depth, like you're very surface level. And it feels like they're realizing currently, or have already realized, that that was a complete misjudgment of your character, that they were completely wrong on that one. I feel like that it could be a group of people, like a group of people that dismissed you as like not in depth enough, not compelling enough in some sort of way. But I also feel like, again, that's more of a negative spin on it. But I also feel like there's people who thought that they knew you really well, and thought that you were best friends and you connected, and all of a sudden they're realizing that they kind of didn't know you at all. They didn't really have an in-depth knowledge of you the way that they thought they did. It feels like a lot of people like to think that they have you figured out, which is completely not true. And when they realize that that's the case, they get very confused. Saturn is all about, Saturn can be very restricted and reserved, and but at the same time, I find this, I think, because Capricorn risings, right? I'm a Capricorn rising. And I tend to find that Capricorn risings, they're ruled by Saturn. They could actually be very outgoing. Capricorn Saturn, or Capricorn risings can be very outgoing. So a person with Capricorn rising is ruled by Saturn. So in theory, if you're looking at Saturn and you're thinking, oh, they're reserved and they're restricted, that may be true, but I generally find, and I've met a lot of Capricorn risings, they're very outgoing. I'm very outgoing. If someone met me, they would think that I was very extroverted. But in reality, there's a lot that Capricorn risings are not showing. So you might be a Capricorn rising, but or you might be an Aquarius rising because that's also Saturn ruled. So in reality, Saturn ruled people can be very outgoing, maybe even really loud and very expressive, but their reserve or being reserved comes from a place of I'm not going to show the absolute truth of who I am. I'm not going to show the absolute like vulnerability of who I am. I can act vulnerable in my loudness and my expression, but it does not mean that it's my authentic vulnerability. And it's not like they're trying to trick people. It's more that that vulnerability is very sacred and very important. So to me, it kind of feels like, yeah, you're, yeah, I feel like a lot of people think that they're closer to you than what you would consider, like what you would think. It's that feeling of, yeah, we're best friends, and you're kind of like, yeah, we're friends, like, but you don't know me well enough to be my friend that well. And like, I don't think I can be your best friend because I don't feel like we know each other that in depth. But that could also be because you require more. You require more than maybe an average person. Maybe that's another thing that people are realizing about you, that you require more depth than an average person in order to maintain a relationship. And so I feel like a lot of people in your life or in your circle that you may have been friends with are realizing that they could never fulfill the need of what a friendship is to you or what a relationship is to you, because you need so much depth and so much work to be put into a relationship in order for it to have any sort of like real legitimacy to you. Square. A challenging situation and a mountain to climb. That does feel like your energy, that's what it's coming off as. And a lot of people are realizing you're not just someone who you get to know, you get into a relationship, you get into a friendship, and it's all like, that's it, that's just us. You are a mountain to climb. You are something to discover over a period of time. And that's what Saturn is as well. Saturn rules time. And, you know, even though we're not talking about linear time, but I suppose like if linear time doesn't exist, time is really effort, right? Because effort is spans over a period of time, and true effort, consistency, and true dedication is time. If you're giving something time, you're giving a dedication and consistency. So I suppose Saturn, that's what Saturn is. And loyalty, I suppose, because that's what loyalty is in Saturnian, from a Saturnian point of view. I think loyalty equals like utmost dedication over time. So I think a lot of people are realizing that you're not someone who's just going to be like, oh, we met like last month, yeah, we're besties now. You're not going to be someone who's like, oh, we met 2 years ago, yeah, let's get married. You're someone who is, you need convincing. You need to convince me why you should be an important facet in my life. Convince me why you should be a cornerstone of my life. And the way that you have relationships, you're not the kind of person that has relationships willy-nilly. You're not someone who has relationships from a point of view like, yeah, you'll be my friend and you'll be my friend and you'll be my friend. You'll be friends with people in this kind of surface level way, but you wouldn't truly call them your friend. Like you might call them an acquaintance or a colleague or a friend of a friend. But for you to truly call someone a friend or to call someone like an important person in your life, it takes a lot of dedication. You are a mountain to climb. I think a lot of people are realizing that, because maybe some people wanted to have these kind of relationships with you in this kind of like, oh yeah, well, we'll just see how it goes. And that's just not the way that you work. And there's nothing wrong with either way. It's just a lot of people are realizing that maybe they pinned you for someone who was like, let's just be best friends, on first meeting. But in reality, you might see the potential in someone to be a best friend on your first meeting with someone, and you'll look at them from a point of view like, you have potential to be dedicated to me the way that I would be dedicated to you. But until you have proof of that, you will not honor that title. That title. We've got Venus: give and receive love, find value and see beauty. I think a lot of people have realized, and this feels to me like maybe even exes or people like friends from your past have realized what a solid person to have you are in terms of a relationship, a one-to-one relationship. I feel like you're someone who thrives in one-to-one relationships. You don't strike me as while you can be a part of friendship groups, you don't strike me as someone who is like, friendship group kind of person. You really care about that one-to-one connection and loyalty and dedication. And I feel like a lot of people have realized that they've lost a real one. That's what I'm hearing in my head. But it's like your loyalty is really unmatched. I'm also hearing your loyalty has been unmatched. So there could have been maybe exes or ex-partners, ex-friends, whoever, that are realizing that now that they don't have you in their life, they haven't been able to replicate the kind of dedication and loyalty that you provided in a one-to-one relationship since you. And I wonder if it's something that you've had to refine, because again, that's another thing about dedication and loyalty and dedicating yourself to someone. When you don't have a lot of experience around this dedicating, you may do it in ways that are kind of toxic for you and other people. But I feel like you've worked and refined it a lot. You've worked on being dedicated without losing yourself in the person. You've worked on being dedicated without being consumed by the other person. And I think a lot of people really admire that about you, but also a lot of people don't get it. That's the feeling that I'm getting here. It's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. How much more does this person need? How much more dedication? How much more in depth? It's just this feeling that you need a lot of in-depth research and knowledge within a connection before you're ready to call it something big, before you're ready to say. And the thing is, what's interesting about this group 3 as well is that while we were talking about Saturn and time, I feel like obviously dedication over time is important, but if someone was able to be consistent in a short space of time in a way that convinced you, like truly convinced you, you would give them like the title of the friend or the husband or wife or partner or whatever it is. Like you need this convincing. And I think that's what a lot of people have realized. You've been waiting for people to convince you, like, why should I give you the time of day? But it's not in a haughty kind of up your own hole kind of way. It's in a way of like, I've trust issues. Potentially it's because you could have some trust issues, and the convincing part is really, really important to you. So I feel like a lot of people are realizing that about you currently and have realized that about you. So I'm going to leave it here, group number 3. Again, very interesting reading. Let me know what you thought in the comments if you feel like it, but I'm going to move forward. And if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to get notified about my videos, make sure you have the bell clicked as well. But I'm going to move on. So we're moving on to the citrine, group 4, last group. Let's see, what are people realizing about you? What have people realized about you already? And like, what are people noticing about you? 5 of Cups in reverse. 6 of Pentacles. I heard no regrets. I feel like a lot of people are realizing that you live with very few regrets. You regret very little in your life. And it's something that's very like there's almost sense of envy, like people are kind of interested to know what is it like to have this skill to just not have regrets over certain aspects of life, and just in general. A lot of people feel like you must have a very easy life because you have this sense of like, oh no, I don't regret anything. I don't regret a thing. But in reality, it's just because there's something very generous about your energy in a way that like, why would I regret something when I didn't lose out on anything? And it feels like whatever process, whatever life lesson, whatever challenge you go through, you you struggle to see a sense of loss. Wow, you're very abundant, group number 4. You struggle to see a sense of loss in anything. No matter how devastating the circumstances, no matter how difficult the circumstances, you struggle to see a sense of loss. I keep hearing I struggle to see how that was, it's like I struggle to see how that was a problem for me. That's what I'm getting. It's like I struggle to see how that was a problem for me. And people will be like, are you serious? Like you went through this thing and you're like, yeah, I struggled to see how that was a problem for me. Actually, I learned A, B, and C, and also, I met these people through this experience, and if this experience didn't happen to me, I wouldn't have met these people, and this wouldn't have happened. Like, there's something very abundant to your overall energy, and it's not that you have to have loads of money or be extremely successful, although I feel like you're moving that way, and I feel like the general consensus of people that are observing you is that you're moving into a very successful place in your life. There's just a realization that you will always struggle to feel unlucky. And it's almost like people are envious of it, but at the same time, it's it's a mindset. It's a mindset that you have, and it's amazing that you have this mindset, but it's a mindset that anybody could adapt. Damn, group 4. 7 of, you're so patient. You're so patient, and you have this feeling of assurance that everything in the end will pay off, no matter how long you have to wait for it, no matter how difficult the road gets, no matter how long the journey gets, that the payoff is coming. It's inevitable. Some sort of success is coming, some sort of payoff, be it today, be it tomorrow, be it in 10 years. Wow, group 4, you're an inspiration to a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people have had a realization that you're an inspiring kind of character. You're someone to look up to. And it's purely this mindset of, I struggle to see how any of my problems were real problems. You must have a ton of optimism. I wonder if you have a lot of, even though we don't have any Sagittarius cards here, I wonder if you have a lot of Sagittarius in your chart. Or maybe you have very strong Jupiter. Maybe your Jupiter ruled Sagittarius rising, Pisces rising. With the Star card, it's almost like you have this never-ending well of hope and optimism. It's like things are going to be grand. The worst thing in the world could be happening to you. And maybe it's not to say that you don't grieve things and that you're not, you don't, like, it's this toxic positivity that you're just like, everything is amazing and nothing bad ever happens. But there's this sense of like, and this will also teach me something, and this will also give me some sort of a resource that I wasn't expecting, and this will also help me in some sort of way. Or you always have this sense of, okay, this is a hard situation right now, but there's going to be help soon. Help is coming soon. Help is on the way, dear. That's what I'm hearing. Is that from Mrs. Doubtfire? That's what I'm hearing in my head. So, group 4. Wow, group 4, you're very, very inspiring to a lot of people. I wonder if you speak about these kind of things online, or if you wrote a book about it or anything like that, or you, wow. You are just so, you don't get bored with life, and you don't get, apathetic towards life. To you, like the way life moves forward, you're just like, even in moments of boredom, you're able to find, oh, I'm bored for a reason. What is this boredom trying to tell me? This boredom is trying to tell me this, or I'm apathetic for a reason. I'm down and out for a reason. Let me dig deep. I feel like you're someone who's really good at shadow work. You're probably someone who's very versed in like digging deep into very difficult emotions in yourself, in your emotional body, spiritual body, and really kind of like taking them out and looking around and being like, okay, why is this emotion bothering me? Why am I so upset by it? You're so good at knowing when to when to wallow in your sadness and in your difficult feelings. You know when to really honor that and be like, I'm gonna be sad today. I'm gonna be as sad as possible and I'm gonna cry my eyes out. Like, that's the feeling. And like, I deserve to be sad today. I'm going through a sad experience. I'm really gonna embrace it. But then you also know when it's time. It's like, have I been maybe sitting here for a little bit too long, being bored and apathetic with my life? And is it time for me to make a move? You are very evolved in a way, group 4. Like, there's this feeling of you just knowing how to move through life. You move through life in a way that a lot of people envy. That's what I'm seeing. It's like, you know how to say enough is enough, let's motivate myself now. And you also know when to say, well, actually, I don't want to be motivated right now because I feel like absolute shit and I want to look after myself and I want to make sure that my body gets to grieve, or like, I get to cry, I get to experience the emotion that clearly wants to be experienced. You're very wise. Yeah, but it's not like this toxic positivity. It's not this sense of like, let me just push down my negative emotions and never feel them and never think of them. That's definitely not who you are. Temperance card. You're very balanced. I think a lot of people are realizing that the reason that you're so balanced is not because your life is easy, is not because your life is, all butterflies and rainbows and you never have to worry about a bill or or a difficulty or a bad emotion. It's not because of that. It's because you know how to regain your balance. You know how to give yourself the space to rest. You know how to give yourself the space to grieve, but you also know when it's time to get yourself out of a funk. And you know how to do that so expertly. I think maybe in the past, some people thought that you were just like given this lucky life, or life was just so easy for you. Like, you just get everything handed to you. There's that kind of feeling, like some people may have had these kind of unfair assumptions about you, because I actually don't think you've been handed much, group 4. It does feel like you've been given a lot in many instances, but it always came because you went out and sought it out rather than it was just like handed to you on a platter. But you might be someone who's quite lucky. I am getting a sense, and we've got temperance, so again, Sagittarius is present here. I do feel like there's this Sagittarian nature to you. So you could have some Sagittarius placements. But your Sagittarian nature that I'm kind of feeling here is because you expect the best. Even when the worst comes, you're still expecting the best past the worst, if that makes sense. And that's where your optimism is. It's like, oh, this bad thing that's happening, oh, I'm still expecting the best because, oh, the bad thing is just happening for now, but the best is still to come. You're not that kind of person who expects the best and then gets knocked down by the bad thing and goes, oh, okay, there's no good things in life. But you're also very good at knowing when to like maybe have a bit of a pity party for yourself. You really know when to cry about something, when to vent about something, when to complain about something. You're probably very emotionally aware. You have this understanding of emotions that maybe other people don't, and the fact that emotion is not only about expressing it, emoting it, and feeling it. It's also about knowing how to navigate in and out of emotion, and knowing, when a certain emotion is it becoming something else? Is it becoming a complacency kind of thing, or is a certain emotion becoming something where you're in denial? Like, are you trying to act tearful when you actually should be grieving? You are, I think this group knows how to do shadow work very, very well. You know how to recognize when joy turns into a mask, and you know how to recognize when sadness and grief turns into an excuse. That's interesting. When joy and excitement turns into a mask, and when grief and sadness turns into an excuse. And you are very good at spotting that and going like, oh, using my grief. Okay, my grief is actually not my grief anymore. I've grieved this thing that I've been grieving. Now it's actually, I'm kind of using it as an excuse because I can feel myself wanting to do something. But there's that stagnancy that I'm putting myself through. I'm making myself stuck. You're very good at identifying when the external sources are making you stuck, but also when you are making yourself stuck. And you can differentiate and discern between the two very, very well. Nine of Swords. It does not mean you don't have difficult moments. I think maybe someone who, especially if there were people who just thought that you got everything handed on a silver platter, I feel like someone maybe experienced or watched you go through something very, very difficult, like something that they would have considered a big deal in terms of a difficult situation, and they saw you work through it, and maybe you're still working through it, but they noticed how you moved through the situation that should have maybe potentially, it's kind of like maybe the feeling that I'm getting is like a person who maybe went through a lot in their life as well, watching another person and thinking that they're very lucky and everything comes easy to them and everything is handed to them. And they go, well, if that person went through what I went through, they would be broken and they would not be as lucky and things would not be handed to them on a silver platter. And then they watch you go through something difficult and they go, oh shit, this person went through something like really hard as well now. But they're still in the energy that they were before, and they're still very abundant and very generous with their energy, and it's slowly changing their opinion on you. That's the way that I'm seeing it. I feel like a lot of people are realizing that you're not just lucky, you create your own luck. You make your own luck. Yeah, you're the magician. It's like you manifest your own luck. I wonder if you're really good at manifesting things into existence, manifesting things into reality. You're really good at manifesting your goals, your dreams, but you're not a slacker with the Seven of Pentacles. I wonder if some people maybe saw you as a bit of a slacker in the past, like, oh, this just like these things just come to group 4. And people are realizing that you're not a slacker. You're actually someone who works really hard for what you have. It's that you really know how to navigate energy and how to navigate emotion and when to be optimistic and when to maybe grieve and like the way that you move through life is so intuitive and so on point. We've got the Two of Cups. I also feel like a lot of people are realizing that they want to partner up with you in some sort of way or connect with you in some sort of way. A lot of people are realizing that partnering up with you would bring them luck. So maybe a lot of people are wanting to become closer friends with you, be more connected to you. I feel like a lot of people are currently realizing that they're having like romantic feelings for you as well. There could be one person in particular. Again, could be a person who maybe had that kind of opinion that you had everything handed to you. Maybe that was their opinion of you in the past, and they're now realizing that you just create your own luck. You're just very good at With Chiron, it does make sense as well. It's like the Chiron energy is you heal. If you can heal your hurts and you can heal your wounds, then you have experience on how to healing that one specific wound, and you can heal other people through that. So you're just the kind of person who heals your own wounds when they happen, and instead of like begrudging the fact that the wound existed, you're saying, hey, I actually figured out how to heal this wound, let me help you heal the similar wound that you're experiencing. You are a healer in I don't like using that term too much, because I feel like it can be used very widely, but I feel kind of compelled to say it in this specific group. You do have healing properties to you. Maybe you are literally in a healing job or a healing occupation, but even if you're not, your energy does have some sort of healing property to other people. People feel healed in your presence. And I feel like that's what another thing that people could have realized, that especially if certain people don't have access to you anymore, they are realizing that your presence was very healing to them, and it brought a lot of light and a lot of fun even. I think a lot of people are realizing that they don't have as much fun when you're not around. Like your absence almost... We've got South Node destined to release. Why am I hearing the one that got away? Some people are feeling like you're the one that got away. It's like through their begrudging of you, of thinking you had everything handed to you and your life was just so easy and their life was so hard, and that, that kind of way, that you kind of move. I feel like a lot of people have rejected you in the past, but in now that life is kind of moving forward, they're realizing that they rejected someone who was a high value, like a high value man, a high value person, like a high value person. Actually, someone who brought a lot of abundance and fun and happiness and joy into their life. And the reason that they were begrudging you was not because of you or anything that you did. You were actually always very generous and always very ready to share. The reason they were begrudging you, and the reason... It's almost like people blamed you for their unhappiness when their unhappiness was not coming from you. It was not your fault. It was not your... With the Uranus energy, I feel like you're just someone who people are not used to. People are not used to someone who doesn't complain that much. Although you do complain, I think you do vent when you need it, but you know how to do it in a way that is like, you will find space to complain. You'll go to a person and be like, can I vent to you right now? Because I really need to vent. You won't be kind of like standing at a party venting to people or complaining to... Like, you know how to direct your energy. But it kind of feels like people are not used to your type of... I wonder if not many people are going to pick this group, if I'm honest. Like, the way that I'm looking at this, it feels like there's a very rare property to you, and I think a lot of people are realizing that. It's like, some people thought that they were being miserable, or that they were becoming miserable because of you, because you were rubbing your happiness into their face. But what a lot of people are realizing now is that they were miserable because of themselves, and you were just freely happy in your own energy. And in fact, your energy was actually very healing to be around. And your self-expression and your freedom and your optimism was actually something that was meant to rub off on them, but they didn't allow it to rub off on them. That's the way that I'm seeing this reading. So that's the realization that a lot of people are coming to. So that's all I have for you, group number 4. This was a cool reading. Definitely keep it up, group 4. I really love seeing things like that. So I'm gonna leave it here. If you like this reading, do like, subscribe, and comment. And especially with your feedback, I'd love to hear from you, group 4. So I'm gonna leave it here. I hope you have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.